visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. My name is Manu. I have been here in Pidlite from last couple of years, and
Yeah, please.
I have more than 15 years of experience in this particular field. I've been worked in sales, marketing, technical, every part of it. Now I in the regional technical for the entire South. Okay. Uh, Most of you maybe know what Pidilite Industries. I just wanted to give you a small glimpse. So half of the people in the industry knows Pidilite Industries in the name of Fevicol. Yes, Fevicol is our brand, and you would have seen related to waterproofing, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan coming on the website. This is the brand of Pidilite Industries, which is into waterproofing. Is called Dr. Fixit. So I represent the division of Dr. Fixit of Pidilite Industries. We are also into other businesses like Fevikwik, MSeal, and all those things. Okay. Now, straight away coming to the product selection category. So what we are talking about today is on a construction chemical, and in that division particularly about the waterproofing. So now, other than waterproofing, see today's discussion. I just want to make it for everybody's understanding. It's more on a technical discussion on waterproofing. What are the latest technologies available, and what does the code of IS or BS code says for the waterproofing? So, and it's all about the knowledge sharing. There is no more about the product, or it's not about product selling. It's mainly a technical discussion. So now, when we talk about construction chemicals, waterproofing is one of the divisions. Other than waterproofing, we have building repairs, tile fixing, sealants, grouts, industrial flooring. Now, these are the few other things which we are there in construction chemicals also. So now, coming to the agenda of today, we will have what is waterproofing, how do we consider for the design, and what are the waterproofing materials to be considered for different areas. This will be the way of approach for the agenda. Coming to the first point, why do we need waterproofing and what is the need for waterproofing? On a civil engineering note, what are we doing? We are constructing a structure which we want to be durable enough. Make sure that it lives for longer period. But if you allow the water to pass it, so then the problem appears is like once you the water loss, it corrodes the steel, the durability of the concrete decreases. So avoid all this ingress of water inside the concrete. We make the water tight construction or waterproof so that the water does not ingress inside the concrete. So this is the main reason of doing the waterproof. Now, what is the reason of doing waterproofing which was not being used in couple of decades back? Earlier, if you are all like in our own houses, which is on 20, 30 years constructed, we hardly used to do any waterproofing. But today, why the waterproofing is required and what is the need? What has been made it to be used? I will explain to you sort of the factors what has been made to you. Urbanization and limited land availability. Today, all the buildings are skyscrapers. It has been bigger in size, high number of floors are increasing, and all those things. And there is all the areas have been used into more of the utilities. For example, I'll explain to you the detail. So, for example, in podium earlier we used to have only the raw walkways and all. Now, podiums have landscapes, hardscapes, swimming pools. When it goes to terraces, it can use as a clubhouse, a swimming pool, hanging swimming pools. You have a lot of machineries, coolers, and all those things kept on the terraces. And climate changes. Yes, today the climate has changed in such a way that most of the metropolitan cities have started expecting such a heavy rains which was never been seen for decades earlier. So flooding and high water table increase and fast-paced construction and concrete quality. Today we are making the concrete de-shattered within 24 hours, 12 hours, and we are looking for higher strength concrete. And most of all, the quality of sand available today. So earlier, most of the places we used to use a natural sand which was available everywhere, which had a binding materials like clay and other minerals. Today, we have used so much that it has been told us not to use anymore to go for an alternative where we are using the manufacturing. Manufacturing sand is what? It is a quarry dust or kind of that which is available from the customer, which is just powder. It does not have any basic requirements of minerals and all. So bonding and cohesiveness is a problem. And if you see, most of the projects or the buildings which has been durability failures which has happened over a period of time is because of the watering. Earlier days, as I said, there was no waterproofing then, yes, but 65-70% over a period of time, maybe 20, 50, 60 years, it has been seen because of watering gas still getting corroded and the durability of concrete being reduced. So, with all this, these are the few points which has led the waterproofing to be one of the key focus in today's market. How does this waterproofing failures? What are the problems? See, why does we have issue? Okay, when we talk about the construction, the waterproofing would cost you 1% of the total construction value. But we neglect and we reduce to cut down the cost of 1%, which will lead to almost 5 times the same value once later it is done. Because you need to remove the entire things, redo and relay the damage on the concrete and the other things. So we are guiding and we are getting this type of presentations done to make sure that at least this waterproofing is done in the initial so that the concrete and the structure remains in good condition. And there are a lot of issues on our material and type of material here. See, we have been told and we have been taught in such a way that waterproofing is like one chemical used and everything. But to be honest, it's not the one. Just imagine the way your structure is built. Do you think the basement is built in the same way and the terrace is also built in the same parameters on the usage part? No, right? So when you look at the terrace, it is exposed to sun, the wear and tear and all that. When it is basement, it's different. So different areas have been characterized and done in the different ways for different requirements. So the same one waterproofing compound may not serve all your required parameters. So choosing of and identifying the right product, it all matters. So now coming to the thing of areas of waterproofing. If it is areas of waterproofing, we normally discuss and describe and divide it between two areas. It is called substructure and superstructure. Substructure is a waterproofing to be done for all the areas below the base, ground level, that is basement, retaining wall, and certain tanks. Superstructure is for the podium, toilets, terrace, and all those areas. So now we will divide this between substructure and superstructure. So now to start with the substructure. Now, if you for better understanding, I see a lot of fellow people from the industry, and I also see a lot of students. On for the benefit of the students, there is a waterproofing has been divided into three categories or three segments of waterproofing. One is integral waterproofing system. So, what is integral waterproofing system? This is the system of waterproofing where the material or the chemical is added inside the concrete. In a sense, you are adding the chemical during the concrete mixing and you are making the concrete hydrophobic. So it will not absorb water. So this is called integral waterproofing system. The next system is preformed membranes. Membranes is the another layer of system where the material comes in a sheet or in a roll formation, which is laid at the site. So this is other segment called preformed membrane. The third segment is called liquid applied membrane. Liquid applied membranes are the membranes which is used as comes in a can or a packed material which comes in a liquid state. Either it is applied by brush or roller or even spray applied machines, which when it comes in contact with the concrete, it bonds and fuse and makes a permanent system. These are the three segments in the waterproofing for the better understanding. And today there is also a requirement of green building, as Ashok was talking about the new things, the green IGBC and all. There is all this coming up. So there's also insulation. So I'll share about this insulation later in the duration. When it comes to the issues, am I audible, guys?
Yes, you're audible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
because
You
there's
are
a lot
audible.
of it's raining heavily and there's a lot of thunder, so I just wanted to cross check. See, when it comes to basement and basement issues, what are the problems what we face in basements in today's normal conditions? Most critical structure for water pressure point of view, level of water table, risk of water penetration in the retaining wall, soil contamination. Once it enters the leakage, we do not need to find out where it's coming. These are the few parameters. Now, coming to the next point, how the common terms used in the waterproofing to address the retaining wall and basement issues. Now, before when we decide a system, we need to find out whether the waterproofing to be done is at what level. Means, if for example, I would like to say you have gone and excavated an area of around depth of 10 meters. Now, 10 meters is excavated, and as per your soil investigation report, it says the water table is at 6 meters, but you have excavated 10 meters. So, in a sense, the last 4 meters of the excavated area is an high prone water table. Means it's always in submerged in water table. This is called high water table. For example, low water table area. What do you mean by low or fluctuating water table? You have excavated 10 meters of land, and the water table as per the soil initiation report says 12 meters. So the entire 10 meters excavated is not even touching the water table. So it is low water table. Next comes what is positive and negative side of waterproofing. Positive side waterproofing is the area where you are doing the waterproofing to the structure, not allowing the water to pass in, not to seep in inside the concrete. So you are protecting the concrete. But in today's scenario, as I said, because of high land and all this, there are certain areas where we have to do wall construction and wall to wall, retaining wall, where you do not have an access from the positive side in certain areas. So in that worst scenarios, I don't say worst, in that different scenarios, we'll have to do negative side waterproofing, where the waterproofing is done on the internal side, but the problem on when you do an internal side waterproofing, you're allowing the water to seep in. So this is the problem. Next point to be noted, whether the area comes confined or non-confined. This is nothing but, to put in a simple language, confined area is where the shuttering is at one side. The other side is the rock or the shattered wall or the piled surface. Non-confined area is a two-side shuttering wall. Simple. So these are the few parameters which we need to consider when we are talking about basement water. Based on this, we will have to design or suggest suitable waterproofing material. Now, coming to the next point. So when we consider on these parameters, now how do we choose a material, and what are the parameters to be considered while choosing the material? For example, we need to find out a material of waterproofing which should bond to the rack, avoiding lateral migration of water or subsoil settling. Either it should conform to any of the codes so that it is easy for us to measure the parameters. Can be applied in wet conditions. Yes, when you are doing a construction and the below ground, you cannot get a dry structure because there will be a lot of parallel activities. Should ensure structural protection. Yes, this is the main parameter what we are looking into. Should be resistant to subsoil contamination, like sulfur content in the soil or a fluoride content in the soil. Maybe fluoride content will not be so much applicable for us in Bangalore, but on the seashore areas where the water content and the chlorine sign is more, should be fast and easy to apply. Yes, once the waterproofing is done on the PCC, then the raft construction happens, and also there will be a lot of other activities on top of it. So we should not take more time. So which will hamper the flow of the construction activity. Should be eco-friendly because of today's thing, and material should have good puncture resistance, tensile, and corrosion. What do you mean by puncture resistance? The reason is when I apply a membrane, there is a lot of other activities will be happening, as I said. So if there is a possibility that one steel rod falls because of the weight of that, when it falls on the concrete, where we have done a waterproofing, it could damage. So it should have puncture resistance, means it should not damage. It should have good elongation. It means material, if there is a crack or something which is built happened in the concrete, it should able to bridge the crack. So these are the few parameters. Now coming to waterproofing types, as per the BS 8102 2009, the waterproofing is been categorized into three types: Type A, Type B, Type C. What do you mean as per the Type A waterproofing? Type A waterproofing says entire structure should be blanketed or to be made it like a bucket system, so that the entire concrete substrate from the exterior side has to be protected during the waterproofing. If you see the type A, the section, you can see a black line underlined. So that is nothing but the water either on retaining wall and the parapet. Coming to type B. Type B is the integral type. As I said, the categories. Type B waterproofing is where you are making the concrete watertight, where you are putting the chemical inside the concrete to make concrete water. Type C is a drain system. So you have a cavity boards and it have a cavity drain membranes which is been there, and it has been routed to the proper drain channels where the water is dewatered by pumping it out with the lift pits, other collection pits. But in today's scenario, Type C is very less used, or even I can say it is not been recommended and it is not been used. It is either Type A or Type B of waterproofing is what is there in the market. This is as per BS code. Now, there is a latest IS code which has been in circulation with 16471 2017. It says the membrane waterproofing should be done in high water table or low water table. They have categorized as low water table or high water table. And as per the condition, either it is low or high water table, they have recommended which type of material to be used. In that, they recommend one technology which is now, which is in very in the market and which is very well accepted, is the fully bonded membranes. So I just want to tell you on the technology which is the latest. So as I said earlier, I'm talking only on the technologies. So this is a membrane which is for, I'll share you on the next slide. Uh, as I said, now as per the IS code, now let us take it across. How do we consider whether it's a high water table or a low water table? I just described you certain amount of time back. If I dig a 10-meter area, what level is the area? At what level is the water table? So this is on a pictorial representation. If you see high water table in the top thing on the right hand side diagram, it says the blue color it's full level. So means the entire sector is under water. The below one is a dry basement, which we call, where the water table is very well below the structure. Okay. Based on this, how do we design? Now, coming to HDP membrane, which I am talking about as per the IS code, it says fully bonded system. What is this fully bonded system and what is this chemical made up of? This chemical is first made up of a system called HDPE. It is high density polyethylene, which is made up of with three layer segment. Excuse me, guys, can you just give me a minute? Uh, just give me a minute, please. Sorry for interrupting. I just have some problem. Just give me a minute. Talking about is a HDPE membrane, which is the membrane as per the IS code it says. This is made up of high density polyethylene, which is nothing but like a plastic sheet. But along with this, it is how it has been bonded. We have an adhesive. It's a glue, a gum, which has been done, and it is laid. So when it has been laid, this membrane it reacts with this adhesive is acidic in nature and concrete is base. So it reacts and forms an acid which is a very high bond adhesive acid, which is bond to the wet concrete and making the concrete system or the membrane fully bonded to the concrete onto the rack side. So this is called fully bonded system. If you see on the two diagrams which I have showing it to you on the right hand side, so this white line which is highlighted in between is the how the membrane will be bonded to the concrete. If there's any lateral migration or subsoil settlement, nothing is going to have because of the concrete, and membrane will remain part of the concrete. Now the below photo in this, what you see, this is how the white colored segment, what you see. This is where we have applied the membrane on top of the PCC, and where we will have a steel and followed by the concreting where the membrane is fully formed. And this type of waterproofing is called positive side water, where we are protecting the main raft. Okay, so this is on the fully bonded system. And what is this other parameters? What we had other lot of parameters. Will all this fill? So coming to the next point, yeah, advantages of SDP membrane. So as we were talking about whether it will withstand and whether it pass through the codes, yes, it is as per the IS code, so it confirms. It is pre-applied, gets bonded, which is as per the requirement. It is fully bonded, and there will be no, but thereby settlement in subsoil does not matter. So which is also adhering to the properties. These are the few. What are we are talking about the parameters which is required? It is fulfilling all the required parameters. So this would be one of the things which we'll have to consider, and this is the how the membrane waterproofing is done in the basement. I'm talking about the horizontal area. Now coming to the vertical part, that is the retaining wall in the substructure. What are the points we see, and what are the problems, and what are the things we need to consider when we are doing retaining wall water? High water table, heavy rain causes leakage in retaining. See now the if you see the construction activity of a retaining wall, because we have this shuttering and the way we have been done with the plywood, so every 2.1 meter with width and depth, so there is a lot of construction joints. What is this construction joints? Or even we can call this as a fold joints. So these are the joints which normally appear between the old and new concrete. Today we pour one concrete and tomorrow we pour one concrete. So the concrete strength and the gain properties of the concrete will remain different. Due to which there will be a minute hairline crack form, which will lead to a lot of leakages. And if you see the conditions today, when we go to any of the big buildings, most of the leakages what we find and we see the damage is on the retaining. And the retaining wall is the area where the first amount of water comes in contact, because adjacent areas of retaining wall is filled with earth. And so there is if there is a rain and the water table gets full and it will get into it. And these are the few parameters which we'll have to consider while we are planning to do a waterproofing membrane. So what should we have? We need to have, because there's a lot of joint which is already there in the concrete. So membrane or a waterproofing material, what will it should be jointless, because they should not be double joint so that water can penetrate anywhere. And because once the material set, there is a lot of backfilling. So material should complete the work fast and setting should be fast. It- Where it should have a good bonding. What do you mean by good bonding? Now, for example, you are applying a material on the retaining wall. So there is a one more layer. What we are doing it on the retaining. Now the length and breadth of retaining wall is huge. So for example, 50 meter by 10 meter. So now when I apply my unconfined area. Unconfined is a normal construction where we have an access from outside. So where we can go and do the route. So we can plan it. Now, if it is an unconfined area, because I've already discussed about waterproofing with fully bonded. So if it is unconfined area, how do we do and what do we do? Normally in market or in the segment, what we normally address, it's called bitumen membranes. You can see most of the people, if you would have gone to site for the students, you can see a black sheet kinds applied on the vertical line. That is called bitumen membranes, tar membranes. But how do we apply tar? How do we put the tar on the road? Tar itself is a brittle material which comes out of the residual process of the petroleum engineering, which is brittle and hardened. How do we melt it? We need to eat the material. Am I right? So same way, if I have to apply this turn membrane, this bitumen membranes, I have to use gas or fire to stick to the surface. But this leads to a lot of gases and getting this material, and it is not good for us. And also now, and inside getting a gas cylinder and putting this, it's again a safety issue. So now, instead of that, what we did is we came out with a technology. Everybody has this technology, but self-adhesive bitumen, where we are not heating it up or we are not leaving harmful gases to the environment. We have a normal membrane which is lead, so we can use this. So this is one part of the tech. This is membrane. But when we do this, what are the advantages and disadvantages? We have a lot of advantages. Physical membrane cold applied system being external water provides better protection, does not require any flame as I said, high good punctuation. But there is also a disadvantage. It's not a jointless system. One membrane to the other membrane, it's like sheet to sheet, you'll have to bond. So joints are high. Chances would be there because you have already a lot of joints in the concrete, again joint, it will leak. So these are the parameters. Now, so coming to the next point of the discussion. So as per the ASTM, see, I'm considering and covering all the codes so that everybody should be aware about different type of codes. So I started with BS, then IS. Now I'm talking about ASTM. As per the ASTM, it says any liquid applied membrane which is applied directly to the slab in order to obtain 1.5 mm plus or minus film thickness. So the liquid applied membrane should be applied to the minimum thickness of 1.5 mm. It is what it says as per ASTM C898. What is this liquid applied membrane? As we discussed earlier, we categorize into the integral, preform, and liquid. These liquid applied membranes are either applied by brush or a roll. The packing looks like this, comes in a tin, which is liquid in material. When it is applied, it is like a paint. But after it forms a film and it is fully bonded to the concrete. So this is how the thing works. So by doing this, what is the advantage? These are the membranes. What I'm talking about, liquid applied membranes, are of one more category of chemical called polyurethanes. Polyurethanes are the best moisture cured materials in the sense when you apply it on the substrate like paint, it will react with the moisture available in the air and form the film. So there is no acid or any alkali or anything added to make it tighten or to bond the substrate. So it is on its own. So this is the application of the membrane. So coming to the thing, if you can see on a right hand side few photos, the red color thing what you see is the person who is applying the material and the retaining. Now, if there is one more photo below this, you can see also black color sheet on top of. Now, why do we need this black color sheet? And what is this black color sheet? Today, if you see, you can see the area in this where the polyurethane waterproofing is. There's so much of gap between the excavated area and the retaining area. So what do we do there? We do the backfilling. How do we do the backfilling? We get all materials available in the set. We just do the backfilling because it's a backfilling area. It's not useful for us. So what happens? You have boulders, you have rocks, you have other materials, debris, everything falling in. So there is all possibility of membrane getting scratched or damaged due to the load. Why it happens is for 10 meters down, person will not do it from the below. After 2 meters, he will use a tipper and unload it. So there's all possible of damage. So we need to have a protection board. This is the black color is the protection board. Okay. So what is the disadvantages of this polyurethane membrane? Polyurethane membranes are moisture cured, as I said. To achieve and to get its full properties, it needs to be cured for 6 to 7 days. And these are all the condition, and the moisture content in the material or the substrate should be less. But inside, to get a bone dry substrate is so far not possible. But in podium and above, it's easy and retaining wall because it is exposed. So drying of the substrate will happen. So these are the kinds. Now, to summarize now, I'm just closing for the substructure. So we discuss as per the code what has to be done. So we discuss IS code, BS code, and ESTM and type of membrane. So I've covered one is fully bonded system, one is loosely laid system, and one is liquid applied system.
Mr. Manu,
Yes, sir.
will you recap the slides so that newly joined people will have one quick recap about up to now what you have covered?
Sure, sir.
Just one quick wrap up.
So what we were talking about is today what is the need of waterproofing, what is happening, the reason why do we need waterproofing, factors affecting to be considering the waterproofing because of urbanization, climate change, fast construction, and durability issues. What is a failure? Because not selecting the waterproofing at the right time, we do a lot of remedial work, a lot of leakages, right selection of and right product for right areas. And when we do waterproofing, we consider in between substructure and superstructure. So we are talking about substructure and types of material available now in category wise: integral waterproofing, preform waterproofing, and liquid applied. These are the few categories available, and insulation. So what are the issues in the basement? How do we plan for the basement? And when we consider basement, what are the types and common terms used? High water table, low water table, positive or negative side, or confined or unconfined. So what are the basic requirements and considerations to be taken care of waterproofing membrane when we are applying for basement, and what are the we need to look into it? So yes. And as per the BS code, what it says, three types of waterproofing. It is tank system, integral system, and drained out system. And Indian condition and Indian code for the basement substructure waterproofing, it is IS 1647 as per 2007. It talks about fully bonded system so that there is no lateral migration and there is nothing, which we have done. So how do we consider product range high water table or low water table? What are the ways of it? If it is high water table, what material to be used, and if it is low material, how do we do it? What is fully bonded system and what is the material? It is HDPE. How does it bond? What is the parameters it is fulfilling as per the requirements? In retaining wall, there's a lot of joints. What are the points to be considered? How do we consider the material? Type of retaining wall, is it confined or unconfined? Type of material, loosely laid membranes or open confined membranes? Unconfined areas membranes or liquid upright. So this is what we were discussing all.